Go back, a quick rescan.
There we go.
There we go. So what we've got there actually is come up with 2 disks. That's because the MPIO driver isn't working correctly. May need a reboot for that one to work, which is a shame. Maybe I didn't select actually that multipath option. Downside is changing things not very easily.
I was wondering, is that connection?
Yes. Yeah, the iSCSI is not quite as slick. You tend to have to remove the options and then put them back in again. So you can see that I didn't click on the MPIO option, so and now it doesn't let me go back and change it. So I'd have to remove that and then go back into there. But not to worry for the moment. We'll initialize one of the disks.
Which are effectively the same disk.
Same for all intents and purposes.
So it's probably worth explaining that, because when I first saw my SAN, that confused the hell out of me. I created a volume and I saw 4 of them. But what the hell's going on?
That's really, if you see that, you know that the MPIO driver is not been either. It's normally not been installed. That's typically what it will be. I didn't tick the MPIO option there, so it doesn't group the disks together. It just sees them via different network cards and sees the disk twice, so it thinks it's 2 disks. It's not got the intelligence. But when the MPIO looks at the disk signatures and all the disk information,
it realises they're the same.
Yeah, it realises they're the same and puts them together.
Gotcha.
But, I can sort that out later on. So we'll create a new partition, but you can see it's 20 gig.
Could be an eye.
We'll give that an eye for a iSCSI, shall we?
I want a small eye there, Mark.
So there we go, we're formatting drive on, it says it's ready. So if we...
So not your typical server, you don't normally present iSCSI and Fiverr to the same... Well, I suppose it could do, couldn't it?
That's what it can do, doesn't it, really? So if we now bring up disk I, what I do, we can show this working.
Yeah, a speed test.
We'll just... What did we put on the other one? Was it the 32-bit? Should we put the 64-bit on the 64-bit on the iSCSI one? Let's copy that one over. So what I'll do now is, while it's copying over, just to prove that it's running over IP.
Oh, I reckon you got I was going to say ODP issues.
So there's our network cards. If I click on the team, do properties, put on utilization. You'll see in a few seconds now that transmit. So basically the data is coming in off a fibre channel disk off another SAN and it's being transmitted down one of the network cards to that disk. Now this is a good example of teaming and how it doesn't always do what you think it's doing. Because at the top you'll see that it says receive 1 gig, transmit 3 gig.
Yeah.
But by default most teaming software will operate in this manner, and the first thing I'd always say, to be honest, in iSCSI, do not use network teaming in iSCSI.
Okay.
Just use it for your client connections and just use the standard network cards and use the MPIO driver for load balancing.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it gets confusing. You're trying to do MPIO over a team which is kind of doing MPIO over network cards, and it gets a bit too confusing. So this is not the way to do it, but does serve a purpose. So typically, most teaming software, it's connection based. So the first connection that comes in, it will allocate that to one of the network cards, as you can see here, network card 2.
Mm-hmm.
And no matter what I do, how much data I chuck at it, it will only ever go down one network card. So it will actually never reach 3 gig. It can only ever max out 1 gig. And what you tend to find is even in IP, it's very rare to be able to max out a network card to its max.
Sure.
Typically you get to 70-80%, and that's about it. So in this configuration, it says we've got 3 gig, but you can only ever transmit 1 gig. The next server or workstation that connects to this would probably use one of the other network cards.
Okay.
It would go around in that kind of a manner. And as you can see, typically only ever one of the cards is used for receiving, and we can copy that file around in a minute to show that. So if you are going to do teaming and you want to actually load balance across all 3, you need to use a protocol such as LACP, and you would need to do some configuration on your switches. So we're talking about switch protocols here. So this is Link Aggregation Control Protocol, I think is what it stands for. But basically it would properly load balance your traffic across all 3 network cards, both outbound and inbound.
Okay.
But you have to configure the switches as well. And lo and behold, you need a switch that can support it. So not all switches, if you buy a cheap...
I'm going fibre, mate.
Maybe buy a cheap Netgear or D-Link, I'm not saying anything wrong with them, but if you buy the entry level one of those for like your home user and they're a few pounds, you might find that they actually don't support any of those protocols, so you actually can't do any of those kind of load balancing. So I'm guessing because all those figures have stopped, that's finished. Okay, so we've got our nice... Oops, let's just drag this over. We can do a quick test here. So we've got our iSCSI disk there. So if we open up another one, what was the other one? I guess it was F for fibre channel.
Fibre, yeah.
So if I bring this one down the other side, now all I'm going to do here is I'm going to take the file and I'm just going to copy it to itself. So I'm going to take that, I'm just going to copy to itself, so that's the iSCSI one. Now I'm going to do the same thing over here, I'm going to copy to itself, and let the iSCSI one start off. So we'll give that a good few seconds head start over the fibre channel one. Yep, and I'm now going to start the other one off. And I'll bring up my network.
You can see fibre's blatantly faster, isn't it?
So this is...
Even though I'm just going to say, because some people are going to work out that the ISO of the 32-bit one's smaller than the other one.
Ah, okay.
But even then, if you look at that and you look at the speed of them, it's quite obvious, I think, that fibre is a lot quicker.
Okay, I should have made it fair by putting the same ones on there, but I think if we go on this, I think you can see...
You can tell, yeah.
Yeah, you can see. And what you'll see on here now...
Look, it's toe connections.
Sorry?
That's what you were saying earlier, isn't it? TOE connection.
Yeah, not available. So the software understands a TOE connection, but the network card's not. So what you can see here as well, you can see now that the iSCSI is reading in and writing back to itself over the network card, and you can see it's actually on this particular occasion coming in and out on the same card. However, next time you do it, it may come in on one and out on another.
Mm-hmm.
But what it's showing is, it will only ever use, in this configuration, 1 gig. So we've shown, which what we're talking about, a very simple, easy way to set up iSCSI. What we've also shown is actually it's not good, and fibre channel natively, without doing any other configurations.
It's almost like you can't get it wrong.
It's hard to get
harder to get wrong. Yeah,
it's designed by default to work well. iSCSI is not designed by default.
It's designed
to work that well.
Yeah, because it's based on IP, which wasn't really designed for storage. Well, moving around that much of data, I suppose.
Because in the host bus adapter, there's none of this. How does it work? It is optimized to see. So I've deliberately left it this way just to show some of the things that people can think about. Obviously, we're having a chat around it, but people watching this, well, hopefully, it will give them something to think